So my name's Olivia. I was born in Melbourne, but I grew up in Noosa in Queensland, right near the beach. And I've sort of been obsessed with art and computers for as long as I can remember. I think when my parents got an iMac in 2000, and I saw these really colorful, cartoony like platformer games and these 3D games that I'd never seen before. It was like so eye-opening to me, and just it just blew my mind. I guess I was quite sheltered from a lot of pop culture until sort of the early 2000s, around that time when we got a computer and I was introduced to the internet and everything. So yeah, ever since around that time I've just been drawing a lot, thinking about game ideas and like designing things. And then when I was 11, I got my first digital tablet. And that it took me a while to figure out how to use Photoshop, but then from about age 12 onwards, I was just like obsessively drawing and just getting involved in like DeviantArt and online communities, and just really trying to improve my art as much as I can. And yeah, from that point on, it was really like a huge focus in my life. Like I didn't socialize much or do many other things in my teen years or even in my childhood. Like art was really important to me. So I guess I've always known what I've wanted to do. It wasn't until I was in grade 11 and I got a chance to do a school-based traineeship with a game studio that I realized that like game design was like something you could study. So that was really exciting. And then I was like, oh, that's what I want to do. Now there's like a name to it. And then, yeah, once I finished high school, I moved to Melbourne. I didn't really realize at the time like how big the game scene was in Melbourne. I just knew like I was born in Melbourne. I was really attached to Melbourne, so I always knew that I wanted to move back. And then when I came here and I started, going out and meeting all these people, it just like it changed my whole view on like games, and just like introduced me to this whole world of like fringe games and just experimental media, and it just like made me so excited. I didn't really have any huge projects aside from just like I would set myself a lot of like goals to make like a certain illustration. And when I was in high school, I did sort of work on a comic, but it just didn't come into existence really. So when I was younger, I like designed original characters, and I did a lot of fan art because, it's a good way to get your work out there. And then last year I spent a lot of time just really trying to refine my game design skills to feel confident enough to be able to make my own games. And then I sort of realized that I don't really need to like know everything to just go in and make games. So I just started making a few little things. I think the first game I released on my Chio account was a self-care game for Self-Care Jam, I think it was called, which was just like a little garden game. And that was only something really small, but it's sort of being able to make something like that in a week made me realize that this is something I can do and something I can release to the public. And like even just getting a few nice comments back from that made me realize that like my work has the potential to like have an audience. So then I made a game called The Midnight Park, which is it's kind of a weird game. It started as a 2D game maker game, and then I really wanted to push myself and do something a lot more visually impressive. And so I did that on and off for about a month or so. And then, yeah, I got some really nice comments on that, and it just really inspired me and like drove me even more to keep making things. And then I made 2K Club not long after, and that was just like a rush of inspiration. And I made that in about 3 weeks. And at the moment, my current project is a game called Reverie, which I'm making for my final year project. And that's actually sort of a continuation of the comic I tried to make in high school. Sort of bringing the characters and some of the ideas back and trying to make that into a game. And yeah, that's my project history. Like 2K Club was really interesting because I just suddenly had this sort of phase where I was feeling really nostalgic about that particular time period, and I had this idea for making a game inspired by it, and it was really weird. Like I just had such a vivid image of what it was going to be in mind, and I just like was able to smash it out really quickly. So the game itself is kind of like more of an interactive toy than a video game. And yeah, it's just designed by really strong memories of like the late 90s and early 2000s. I was really little at that time, and I guess because of that, I have these really positive, strong memories of like the popular culture of that time. And like it was just around the time where my eyes were sort of opening up to the world, and like in the year 2000, everyone was like so excited with like the futurism of like the new millennium, and like everything was like metallic and colorful plastics, and like there were all these cool electronics and toys, and it was just a really exciting time to be. I was like 4 or 5 at the time. And yeah, I really wanted to, I guess, create that really kind of like bubbly, like poppy atmosphere for the game, and just sort of combine like all of my really strong memories of like the feeling of that time, and yeah, like the popular culture and everything of that time into this little room. Nostalgia has a bit of a reputation for being a very negative and quite a depressing thing, really, but I didn't really want my game to show that. I really wanted it to just be like a very short little experience that just like immerses you in like this little time capsule of like my memories of that time, which is really like excitement and like awe and enthusiasm for like the world and technology around me. So I wanted to get that sort of feeling across, like that sort of childlike wonder of the world at that time, and like whether that comes across, or even if people just like are able to have a laugh when they see like an old like electronic that like they used to own, or like they just have like a flashback and like, you know, see something that they remember, or like something they used to own. Like it's like a short enough game that it, I guess, the like depressing nostalgia aspect doesn't linger too long. It's just enough to be able to go in and have like a quick laugh or like a nice feel good memory. So that's really the kind of feeling I wanted to create with the game. Luckily with the game, I mean, I made it in 3 weeks, so there wasn't really enough time for me to I guess question things too much or start to dig up old memories. I mean bad memories. I mean, like obviously not everything was perfect at that time in my life, but I just basically immersed myself in like old like pop music and like imagery and stuff for 3 weeks and made it. But I think like it's a very short game. Like you can play it in like 1 to 2 minutes, which I'm a bit self-conscious about, and I still sort of have that mental battle of like, is this really a game? Like even like games that aren't games, like walking simulators and stuff, they still have a bit more meat to them than this game. I feel like I don't really know what genre to put my game in, so I guess being able to describe it to other people and confidently sell it has been a bit of an issue. You know, I'm really proud of it, honestly. I feel like it's the most personal game I've ever made, but yeah, a lot of people are sort of like, what do you do with it kind of thing. And yeah, like it is really short, but the people that have played it like have really said so many positive things and like told me that it makes them feel really good. So that's been really nice. It was a good experience overall. I'm pretty fortunate that I'm at a point where I have a lot of friends in like this fringe games community, and a lot of friends who are also artists and really understand what I'm trying to go for and support it. But I guess I sort of beat myself up a little bit, sort of thinking that I should be doing more. Not that games that are like walking simulators or don't have many mechanics are less valid, but yeah, it can be hard when I'm talking to people outside my little bubble, and that is sort of like, you know, what's the objective of this game, you know, what, like, how do you beat it and stuff like that. It gets to me a little bit, and I worry about it sometimes. I'm worried that like all of my games are like that, and that maybe that's not a good thing, but I'm also pretty confident in what I'm doing at the moment, and at the end of the day, what's really important to me is just experimenting with different art styles and trying to put, I guess, a piece of my soul in my work. And I've really realized over time that that's really what like drives me, rather than designing mechanics or making something that's fun. Like, I just want people to be able to have a good experience, or like, even if it's not a good experience, even if it's a like nostalgic or melancholy experience, that's what I'm much more interested in, and that's a lot more aligned with like my artwork, and that fits, I guess, my overall picture much more. Games are still so young, and they still don't have the same high reputation as something like films and books, and I think there's still a lot of barriers for people to get into games and either see it as like a career choice or even just enjoy games on a casual basis. And I think if we get more people that have a variety of backgrounds making things, you know, rather than just the typical stuff we usually see, even stuff that has very low input, I think that'll bring a lot more people into the game scene, people that maybe don't feel like they're a gamer. Like, I know when I was in high school, I got a lot of like, oh, you a true gamer kind of crap. Like, if we could get rid of that stigma by making games a lot more open and like add more genres to games, that'll, you know, it'll bring more people into the industry and make it a much more inclusive place. I really like the path that games are on now. I feel like every year, like, just so much changes and improves, and that's really exciting. And it's really exciting to be in the midst of this scene that keeps growing. I guess in 5 years' time, it'd be cool if mainstream game genres are a lot more broad and inclusive, kind of like films, how there's like, you know, like maybe there's like a chick flick equivalent of games, or things that just like, or, you know, maybe more kids games. I kind of feel like those have gone a bit under the radar lately. Yeah, like games that just sort of, like, there's a genre for everyone, kind of like other media. I think that'd be really cool. It's a really exciting place to be at the moment, and it's a place that I'm happy to be in for a long time, even if I struggle to find work in the games industry. I'm really happy where I am, just having enough money and time to get by and make art and games. I think it's a really cool space. You know, everyone's just doing whatever they want, you know, whether it's you know, whether they do want to make a game with like deep mechanics, or they just want to like try out a different art style, or like show a political message. I think it's really awesome that there's a group of people that have found a medium for their voice, and that there's a safe space for these people to be able to express themselves and have that freedom of speech and like get their art or their thoughts or their humor or anything out there. So it's a really cool place, and there's not a lot of pressure, which I really like. Everyone's just really positive, and they give good feedback. And it's not traditional, there's no stress about the games having an objective or anything. It's just, a love of interactive entertainment and art. And so I'm really happy to be included in the Fringe community. Yeah, I guess I do wrestle with self-doubt a lot. Even though I have sort of found myself in this little community, I just constantly want to do better, and I want to keep pushing myself. I think I do need to take more time to acknowledge what I have achieved. I guess I do get imposter syndrome quite a lot. Sometimes I'll look at my itch.io page and be like, wow, I made all these games, but I'm still terrified to call myself a game developer. Oh, I feel so not worthy. I guess when I talk about it to people a lot of the time, I sort of describe what I do as just making art, which sounds even more pretentious. But I see it as a form of self-expression, and it is really important for me to have a creative outlet. And so whether it's the amazing games or just whatever, I'm just happy to have a voice, I guess, and get my thoughts out there and my ideas. If I could give myself past self advice, it would be probably just don't put so much pressure on yourself, and don't do what you think you have to do. For my early uni years, I sort of I figured that my art probably isn't good enough to stand on its own, and so I was like, okay, I need to try and be a concept artist or a programmer or whatever. But I wish I just so I sort of wasted a bit of time trying to make art and games that I wasn't really keen on, and I really wish that I just put that energy into working on me and developing my identity more, because it is really important for me to put my identity and my feelings into my game. I need that to not go crazy in a way. I really wish I started doing that with games more sooner, but it's okay. It's better late than never. So I'm happy where I am now.